All right, so am I voting for Joe Biden in November against Donald Trump? That's a question many Bernie supporters are having to answer after Bernie dropped out, endorsed Biden, and we had to watch the terrible live stream where Bernie Sanders had to talk to Joe like a child, and Joe read off a teleprompter during their conversation about how to move forward. So that whole thing happened. The primary was absolutely terrible. Bernie got negative media coverage after winning states by large margins. He won the first three states, and they found a way to ruin the media narrative. Iowa happened. The Monday before Super Tuesday happened. Obama behind the scenes happened. Joe Biden from his Saturday win in South Carolina to Super Tuesday got $100 million in free media advertising. That happened. This entire time, people were anti Bernie. The media, not the people, my bad, media and corporations were anti Bernie. They say anybody but Bernie, anybody but Bernie. Somehow, Bernie still pulled through with a heart attack throughout the whole thing, with health issues. He got to this point. They compared Bernie to the Nazis. They compared the Jewish guy to the Nazis, anti Semitism. They compared Bernie supporters to black shirts. The way they skewed Bernie's perception throughout this entire thing is absolutely disgusting. They made it look like he was, that he couldn't beat Donald Trump. They tried smearing his character. They tried smearing him as a hidden sexist with Elizabeth Warren trying to kamikaze attack him. Michael Bloomberg came in as a distraction, took around 2 weeks of vital time of Bernie's energy. He focused on Bloomberg for 2 weeks, so Biden flew under the radar. People forgot how bad Biden was because Bloomberg was that much worse. And, anybody but Bernie, anybody but Bernie. The media was fear mongering. And that entire list, I'm sure there's so much more. I probably only said half of what happened this primary. And I've gotten, oh my goodness. Like that one moment where Chris Matthews said that if you were on the side of the road hurt, he thinks Bernie Sanders would not help you. Like the shit they did against the progressive movement during this thing. And then they wrapped it all up very nicely. And when Bernie Sanders was finally ahead and basically the presumptive nominee, the front runner, the entire conversation, after beating all that stuff that I just named, the entire conversation was based around, you know what? If Bernie actually does win, he doesn't have to be the nominee. We're going to steal democracy. We're going to steal the nomination if Bernie wins. So even if Bernie survived everything and won, got the most delegates, but didn't hit the number he needed to, all the talk was about stealing the nomination away from Bernie. And this entire establishment orchestrated this. Obama led it behind the scenes. Obama ended up convincing everyone to drop out, including Bernie at the end. And we got messed up. We got beat up even worse than 2016, in my opinion, like 10 times worse. The hope we had a month ago. Think about how different things were before Super Tuesday. It was like I stayed reserved because I knew they were going to flip the switch and screw us over. But think about that position we were in with Bernie in the lead. And then after all this, they are coming around and saying we must vote for Joe Biden because Donald Trump is the ultimate evil. So am I voting against Donald Trump? I don't know what I'm doing yet. And I hate having to make this decision at all. Joe Biden doesn't support any form of universal health care, not even like the Australian model, not even any type of expansion of Medicare, as is right now, just the 80% coverage for all. Medicare for all is 100% Medicare coverage for all. But the debate isn't even about universal health care. The debate is how we could do anything but have universal health care with Joe Biden. And on climate action, of course, we will not get enough done with Joe Biden. It's terrible. His plan is absolutely a joke. It's just for politics, the minimum wage. You really think Joe Biden is going to fight for a heightened minimum wage? No, he's not going to. A universal basic income. Joe Biden will never fight for something like that. Wars. Joe Biden will fight for the same exact wars he did his entire career. Joe Biden is suffering cognitively. His wife will be running the presidency, I guarantee you, just like Nancy Reagan ran it when Ronald Reagan has had Alzheimer's in his second term. Ronald Reagan was really slipping going into that 1984 election. And that entire second term, we found out he wasn't even in control. Joe Biden is an empty puppet. And all these things are absolutely terrible. He has a bad record with women. He has probably raped multiple or touched inappropriately multiple women. However you want to define rape versus sexual assault, whatever lines we're drawing today with the centrist and whatever the media wants to discuss about it. But we have this guy who is painted as this lovable, character who he isn't perfect, but he's a great guy. But we know that's not true. How many people do you have to send to war? And how many women do you have to creepily touch before we stop calling you a decent guy? So how can I vote for Joe Biden or get anyone to vote for Joe Biden? I can't. Like, I'm forced into this position now that I didn't want to be forced into, that I've spoken about for a while. You could look at my first ever video to hit over 1,000 views. It was talking about Andrew Yang on The View, where he said we need more than just anti-Trump to win. We need someone we can fight for. But now I'm in the position where I have to just fight against Donald Trump because I know on healthcare he is stripping healthcare away from millions of people. I've seen the tax plans. I've seen what he's doing. It's egregious. It's way worse than Joe Biden. On climate, Trump is personally making decisions to intentionally poison our Earth. Like, this is accelerationism, if that's a word. It's making everything move faster, getting us closer to a revolution, having Donald Trump be president again and refusing to vote for Biden. We're accelerating this entire thing. Minimum wage, Trump's not going to help that. Instead of improving conditions for the working class, Trump is going to try to cause warfare within the working class, have us fight our brothers and sisters. That will happen under Donald Trump. He is shifting into a way worse position than before. Second term Trump will be worse than first term Trump. The way he acted in his first term really concerns me because of the way that presidents typically act during their second term when they are acting without restraint because they don't have to worry about re-election. I think if Donald Trump did not have to worry about re-election, he would have went the herd immunity route with the coronavirus, COVID-19. Trump seriously is a corrupted figure in history. If you look at historical trends and you look at economic inequality, we're at the point where a nation usually suffers a large reset as a result of a war, a recession, or some type of big event. And by reset, I mean some type of actual revolution where there's violence. Because if you don't have a peaceful revolution, which we almost got through Sanders, there is going to be a violent revolution. And that violent revolution probably would have came even with Bernie. If I don't vote for Joe Biden, I'm basically saying I'm okay with the reset being forced to come now. And I think there's a possibility if Joe Biden does win that we have, we basically buy time to try to create that peaceful revolution we need to avoid the violent revolution. I feel like Joe Biden does buy us time, but Donald Trump gives us a fast track to get there. So am I willing to lead myself into a situation and lead, everyone I know, the whole country into a situation with my vote? But the point is, if I vote for Joe Biden, it will be because I want to buy time and I want to be given the chance to fight in the next 4 years for peaceful revolution and for peaceful change. Because I don't want an overall reset of our society where violence has to be executed in order to amass some change. And I know people say things have to get worse for things to get better, but I want more time to fight for that better before we have to get worse in order to force ourselves into a change. Yeah, so I hope you appreciate my rambling. I'm sorry if you don't like what I said during this. Leave some comments on what I said. Let me know what you're planning on doing in November. As of right now, it's too early to tell for a lot of people. I get that. Stay safe during this pandemic. Thank you for watching.
Every leader of a generation called a communist. They're lying about their profits in the same way that Obama did. The puppets that they're fighting for is lying about their promises. Every 4 years graduate, no change, like in college.